Hare Krishna. So we'll continue our discussion on this very important chapter, first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today, Pallam Chitupro is taking a break. So we'll continue discussion on Prabhupada's purport. So we will continue. There are some important understandings that I'll share with you. Here, this first, the instructions of Vidura are now over. Now this section has instructions by Narada Muni. And before that, Dhritarashtra is going to leave the house. It's a very important moment. So at the end, the story is success story. Dhritarashtra became successful person. So we'll just go with the translation. He's called, of course, this is Vidura is telling, he's called undisturbed who goes to an unknown remote place and free from all obligations quits his material body when it has become useless. Purport. Narottam Das Thakur, a great devotee and Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava sect, has sung, My Lord, I have simply wasted my life. Having obtained the human body, I have neglected to worship your Lordship, and therefore I have willingly drunk poison. In other words, human body is especially meant for cultivating knowledge of devotional service to the Lord, without which life becomes full of anxieties and miserable conditions. Therefore, one who has spoiled his life without such cultural activities is advised to leave home without knowledge of friends and relatives and began thus freed from all obligations of family, society, country, etc. Give up the body at some unknown destination so that others may not know where and how he has met his death. Dhira means one who is not disturbed even when there is sufficient provocation. One cannot give up a comfortable life due to his affectionate relation with wife and children. Self-realization is obstructed by such undue affection for family, and if anyone is at all able to forget such a relation, is called undisturbed or dhira. This is, however, the path of renunciation based on a frustrated life, but stabilization of such renunciation is possible only by association with the bona fide saints and self-realized souls, by which one can be engaged in loving devotional service of the Lord. Since sincere surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord is possible by awakening the transcendental sense of service. This is made possible by association with pure devotees of the Lord. Dhritarashtra was lucky enough to have a brother whose very association was source of liberation for his frustrated life. So Prabhupada writes very nice point. What is important for us to notice here is this sense of renunciation is actually very valuable. And if it is not protected, one may lose it. And it is very easy to lose also. That is the reason this instruction is given. It may look little harsh. How? Without informing the family members, you have to leave the house. It looks why somebody should do like that. Without informing the family, you have to leave the house. Because as soon as a person gets this desire to live, and he's saying, okay, now I am old enough, I have done all my responsibilities, I live. Then all the affectionate people, the family members have a certain way of relating with the person. And then they will say, no, you are so sick, you need to eat 6 times a day, you cannot leave the home and go for renounce this world. And they try to hold him back, and which is very detrimental, and he may stay back like that. This is the problem. And this actually what happens. Many people get realization, but because they continue to be with that type of environment and the same situation, they will not be able to give it up. They will be held back. They lose it. Like one example I was hearing that there was one Prabhupada disciple. He was a big guru and he was having so many thousands of disciples. But somehow, because he committed some Vaishnava aparadh, he left. He could not follow the standards, and this is actually opportunity to commit offenses remains all the time. That's why one need to be very, very careful, not commit. Once we commit offenses, then we may lose the taste for practicing Krishna consciousness, and all the material taste starts coming. And what happened? The same thing happened to this Vaishnava, and he started, and then his godbrothers came, and then they asked him, "What is this?" Then he understood. Okay, this is I have to go with the truth, and he accepted the truth. He said, "No, I am not up to the standards, and I am not able to follow. But I will sincerely, I will be alone, and I will try to restore my relation with Krishna. I am not able to. I came to that standard, but I could not maintain." And then he said, "Okay, go and inform my disciples." So these God brothers of them, they went and informed in the community about their guru. And some of their students were very attached to him. They came back to him and they said, "Are your broad brothers are envious of you. They are speaking about you in an ill way. They are telling you are not at this level. You have come to this level." And now what happened is immediately his attachments came out for his disciples and all. He said, "Yes, yes, I am of a very high standard. They are envious of me." Even though just before he admitted, but what happens then the attachment came, then immediately this tendency came out in him. This is the reason. That means what? Got that realization, but because when attachment comes back, then you come down again. So the same thing happened to this person. That uh, that is the reason it is told you get this realization. Just leave. Don't talk to anybody. Don't put in the internet ahead that now after a few days or after a few months I am going to renounce, and then you will not be able to do it because all the affections around you will hold and it will be very difficult. That's the dhira means one who is not disturbed even when there is provocation, and one cannot give up the comfortable family life due to his affectionate relationships, and that is why. And another important point what Prabhupada is telling is this renunciation is based on frustration. That's why you need association of a very great saintly person. Self-realized soul will help us to maintain that relation, giving you a spiritual backup. Now it is an emotional state, but he will make it to bring to a level of buddhi. It's in the level of manas to level of buddhi, that realization. It continues to remain because he will give the backup of Shastras and he will make his faith strong on that same realization. So this is the point. And next he says, he is certainly a first class man who awakens and understands either by himself or for others the falsity and misery of this material world and thus leaves home depends fully on the personality of Godhead residing within his heart. So now Prabhupada says there are three classes of transcendentalists, namely the Dhira, or the one who is not disturbed by being away from family association, one who is renounced, or one who in the renounced order of life, sannyasi, by frustrated sentiment, and a sincere devotee of Lord who awakened God consciousness by hearing and chanting and leaves home, depending completely on the personality of Godhead who resides in his heart. The idea is that the renounced order of life, after a frustrated life of sentiment in the material world, may be stepping stone on the path of self-realization, but real perfection of path of liberation is attained when one is practiced to depend fully on the personality of Godhead who lives in everyone's heart as Paramatma, one who lives in the darkest jungle alone out of home, but a steady, fast devotee knows very well that he is not alone. The personality of Godhead is within him, and he can protect his sincere devotees in any awkward circumstances. One should therefore practice devotional service at home, hearing and chanting the holy name, quality, form, pastimes, antaraj, etc., in association with pure devotees, and this practice will help one awaken God consciousness in proportion to one's sincerity of purpose One who desires material benefit by such devotional activity can never depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he sits in everyone's heart. Nor does the Lord give any direction to person who worships him for material gain. Such materialistic devotees may be blessed by the Lord with material benefit, but they cannot reach the stage of first-class human being as above mentioned. There are many examples of such sincere devotees in the history of the world, especially in India, and they are our guide on the path of self-realization. Mahatma Vidura is one such great devotee of the Lord. One, and we should always all try to follow in the lotus footsteps of self-realization. So here, very nice purport, Prabhupada, and so many points Prabhupada is telling. First thing, he just told the difference between the Dhira and what a devotee is. And then he is trying to explain the three categories of people, who is Dhira, who is a Sannyasi, and he is a Paramahamsa, who is completely dependent on the Supreme Personality of God. But there is two more important points, is this person is always able to feel the presence of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a very important understanding we need to have. When we start feeling the presence of the Lord all the time, then it is easy to renounce this word. Otherwise, not possible. Because any situations we will feel, oh, how can this situation be and how can I handle this situation? But if a person gets this realization, no, Lord is there, He is going to take care of me in all situations. That is how Prabhupada went at the age of 70. Now, most of the Prabhupada disciples are in 70. And now some of them, they share realization. Oh, now we understand what is 70, and to leave home at the age of 70 with no money in hand and no place to go and no acquaintance, then you are staying alone in an unknown city. How difficult it is. And then Prabhupada did it because he had that complete faith that Krishna is going to protect. And then he was quite successful in that. This is how it happened for Prabhupada. And here, one who desires material benefit by such devotional service activity can never depend on the personality of God. This is another thing. Although he sits in everyone's heart. So people who are worshipping Lord with material desires cannot feel his presence. They get the Lord, go. They go to many Vishnu temples, Krishna temples, and the Lord's various forms of temples are there all over India. But we see people go there, they worship him, but does not have any change in their heart. Their materialistic life continues. Why? Because Lord is, that's why, nor does the Lord give any direction to the persons who worship him for material gain. Such materialistic devotees may be blessed by Lord with material benefit, but they cannot reach to the stage of first class human being as above mentioned. That means they cannot. So many temples of Lord are there, but very hardly, 0.0%, 0.1% people will be coming to a proper stage of consciousness or becoming devotees. That is possible. Otherwise, most of the time we see it is not possible only. Why? Because Lord is reciprocating with their desire to enjoy only. They're not, because they didn't have a desire to serve. That is the reason we need association of a devotee. That is the reason Advaita Acharya prayed to Krishna, don't come as Krishna to deliver this. Because you will come, you will remain like this only. Whoever comes to Yetaman Prapatan Tamastate. And all the people in this material world presently, they go to the Lord. Many people believe in Lord, but their faith in Lord is only for their own personal gain. They, according to them, Lord means one who should help me in becoming happy in this material world. And otherwise, why should I serve such Lord who is not responding to my material desires? So this type of understanding people have in this material world. But here we see that here that Lord is not going to reciprocate. That's why Advaita Acharya prays, no, you come as a devotee. So he prays to Lord Krishna to come as Lord Chaitanya. Because as a devotee can interfere in other people's desires and say, no, don't desire like this. We need Krishna only. And that is the difference between Lord and a devotee. And Lord comes as a devotee, he will come as a very big devotee, and then he can do so much. This is the point here. So such materialistic devotees, they are blessed by Lord. Okay, okay. You want to be happy? Okay, become Indra, become demigods, and no, try to enjoy in this material world. But when they come in contact with devotee, then things are different. They will wake up. Jeev jago, Gora Chandra bole, Kota nitra jago maya, Pishachi rako. And now this is the instruction Vidura is giving to Dhritarashtra. Please therefore leave for north immediately without letting your relatives know. For soon the time will approach which will diminish the good qualities of men. So there are two things here. One is he's telling, don't tell anybody. Now you got a realization, but don't tell anybody. Immediately leave. Why? If you go and tell Yudhishthir Maharaj, you say, no, 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 uncle, no, we will take care of you. Don't worry. You are sick, you are blind, and you are invalid, and nothing is there. Now, what happened here, very important thing is Dhritarashtra, one who is very strongly attached to his post as a king. Now, that attachment remained for him, even though it was very hollow, because previously when his son was there, he was the king. But now it is king is Yudhishthir. Even though it does not have any value to it, he's just sitting as a, just as a mask, because actual king is Yudhishthir. He was coronated also. But Dhritarashtra could not leave even that so-called position as a king, even though it is not there anymore. Because he thought, if I leave, what will remain of me? This is the point. Even though Dhritarashtra's everything is living, his tooth also became weak and they are also living. But Dhritarashtra could not live. What is my identity? So that's why Vidura comes and says, no, no, because I become hollow. If I don't have anything, I'll remain hollow. That's what Dhritarashtra was thinking. Vidura said, no, there is an alternative way where you can live without having anything with you. So if I lose everything, the people, why they fear, if I lose, then what will have for me? But the point is, if we have something, then we cannot lose it. If we are losing something, means it never was ours. It is just given for some time. That's why we are losing it. If something belongs to us, it should always belong to us. If something is living from us, means it never belonged to us. This is the understanding. That's what Krishna tells in the second chapter. Something temporary does not exist. Exist in the sense, for us it does not make any sense. That's why don't take it very seriously. Something temporary, don't take it seriously, because it is not going to give you anything permanent, and also it does not going to benefit you in any way completely. Something you always have means you always will have. That's all. So strive for something which is permanent. This is what Krishna is trying to tell in Bhagavad Gita also in the second chapter we know. Now here same thing, the Vidura is trying to convince Dhritarashtra, you will not lose anything because it does not belong to you anyway. You are losing if you have something, means you always have it. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, one can compensate for a life of frustration by becoming a dhira or leaving home for good without communicating with relatives. And Vidura advised his elder brother to adopt this way without delay, because very quickly the age of Kali was approaching. Conditioned soul is already degraded by material association, and still in the age, in the Kali Yuga, the good qualities of men will deteriorate to lowest standard. He was advised to leave home before Kali Yuga approaches, because the atmosphere which was created by Vidura, his valuable instructions and the facts of life would fade away due to the influence of age which was fast approaching. To become Narottama, or a first class human being, depends completely on the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. It is not possible for any ordinary man. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.28 that a person who is completely relieved of all taints of sinful acts can alone depend on the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Dhritarashtra was advised by Vidura at least to become a dhira in the beginning, if it were possible for him to become a sannyasi or a narottama. Persistently endeavoring on the line of self-realization helps a person to rise to the conditions of a narottama from the stage of dhira. The dhira stage is attained after prolonged practice of yoga system, but by the grace of Vidura, one can attain the stage immediately simply by willing to adopt the means of dhira stage. which is uh, preparatory stage for sannyas. The sannyasi stage is preparatory stage of Paramahamsa, the first grade devotee of the Lord. So here, first reason why it is we discussed why we should not inform when you are got realization you want to live, because people will hold you back. It's a valuable realization and you lose for no reason. That's why you want to give, then just give it up happily. And then in this case, what Prabhupada is telling, this is a Dhira stage, is the beginning stage of sannyas, and sannyas is before Paramahamsa. So three stages are there. Now, to become an Aratam first class devotee depends completely on Supreme Lord. And he should be completely relieved of all taints of sinful activities and can alone depend on Supreme Lord. So this is a practice stage. There are two types of contamination people will have. One type of contamination is all the material attachments which we are having, which are very gross. And then there are subtle attachments to karma and jnana. This is anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmana. So there will be material attachments for food, for certain type of environment, some facilities, some comfort, so many other attachments to family and all these things which are quite wrong. And then there is jnana karma, then there is attachment to karma and jnana. So these are the contaminations. So one who is free from it, he will be able to nicely come to the stage of Paramahamsa, like that. And now the next shloka says, this is a very nice thing that happened. Thus Maharaj Rashtra, the ascension of Shion of family of Ajamida, firmly convinced by introspective knowledge, broke at once the strong network of family affection by his resolute determination. Thus he immediately left home to set out on the path of liberation as directed by his younger brother Vidra. This is a very important understanding that he is glorified now here. Why? Because this is what Dhritarashtra had. He is a very he had this determination. There is a rule, there is a rule that what is not in the beginning, not in the end, is also not in the middle. Adyaman. Yeah, so it is never there. So if we don't have in the end, if you don't have in the beginning, in the middle also, it is not. That means it is not there now. Not there in the now sense means we should not be attached to it. It is given to us for temporarily, but it is not ours. Like that. And it's a very nice purport Prabhupada's writing. He says that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great preacher of the principle of Srimad Bhagavatam, has stressed the importance of association with sadhus, pure devotees of the Lord. So this is the point. We can be able to get, we will be able to, actually this is a very important. Without association of devotees, it is not going to happen. That's the purpose. He said that even by moments association with a pure devotee, one can achieve all perfection. He is not ashamed to admit that this fact was experienced in our practical life, where we were we not favored by his divine grace. So this is a very important purpose. Please don't misunderstand. I will try to explain what Prabhupada is telling, because many people will misunderstand this transcendental cheating and they do it wrongly. Please try to understand. Prabhupada, right? We are not ashamed to admit that this fact was experienced in our life. Were we not favored by his divine grace? Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, our first meeting for a few minutes only, it would have been impossible for us to accept the mighty task of describing Srimad Bhagavatam in English. Without seeing him at this opportune moment, we could have become a very great business magnate, but never would we have been able to walk the path of liberation and be engaged in the factual service of the Lord under the instructions of His divine grace. And here is another practical example by the actions of Vidra's association with Dhritarashtra. Maharaj Yudhishthira was tightly bound in a network of affinities related to politics, economy, and family attachment. And he did everything in his power to achieve so-called success in his planned projects. But he was frustrated from the beginning to the end, so far as his material activities were concerned. And yet, despite his life of failure, he achieved greatest of all success in self-realization by the forceful instructions of a pure devotee of the Lord, who is the typical emblem of a sadhu. The scriptures enjoy, therefore, that one should associate with sadhus only, uh, rejecting all other kinds of association, and by doing so, one will have ample opportunity to hear the sadhus who can cut to pieces the bonds of illusory affection in the material world. It is a fact that material world is a great illusion because everything appears to be a tangible reality, but at the next moment evaporates like the dashing foam of a sea or a cloud in the sky. The cloud in the sky undoubtedly appears to be a reality because it rains, and due to the rain, so many temporary green things appear. But in the ultimate issues, everything disappears, namely the cloud, rain, and green vegetation, all in due course. But the sky remains, and the varieties of sky or luminaries also remain forever. Similarly, the absolute truth, which is compared to the sky, remains eternally, and the temporary cloud-like illusion comes and goes away. Foolish living beings are attracted by the temporary clouds, but intelligent men are more concerned with eternal sky with all its variegatedness. Uh, there is one more purport which is coming. This purport, Prabhupada writes about him, but next he writes about the transcendental cheating. But here also he makes a very important point that if it is not his meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he would have become a great business magnate. Maybe he would have become uh, Tata or Birla or company or something like that, Prabhupada. But he chose, because he became a devotee, Krishna took away everything. Same thing it is told about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. If Bhaktivinoda Thakur would not have become a devotee, was so intelligent that time, he would have become the first Prime Minister of India. It was easily possible for him. Same thing with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. If it had not become a devotee, he would have become the first black president of America, not Obama. They were very materially very powerful persons. They could have immediately influenced so much and could have done. But they became devotee and they chose to go in a different direction anyway. And same thing Prabhupada says, his association with Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur have changed. And another important thing what Prabhupada is making here is that the material world is a great illusion because everything appears to be a tangible reality, but at next moment evaporates. So this is the reason why it is temporary, because it does not stay for a long time. And the gentle and chaste Gandhari was the daughter of King Subala or Kandahara or Gandhara, followed her husband, seeing that he was going to Himalayan mountains, which was the delight of those who accept the stuff of renounce order, like fighters who have accepted a good lashing from the enemy. So how it is compared, that it's a very nice comparison, how they feel very excited. One who gets sannyas now, he's so excited, like when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to take sannyas, then the barber, he was shaving his head, and he shaved little head, only some part. And the thought that I am going to renounce everything for Krishna gave so much pleasure to Lord. He started dancing for a long time, just with a half shaved head. And again he sits and little more shaving and it's so ecstatic. And I am going to renounce everything for Krishna. So that actually gives so much pleasure if somebody is having little realization. There is so much ecstasy. And somebody who joins the ashram in the beginning, in initial stage, he is also in great ecstasy. After that, it becomes different, normal. But the ecstasy is there in the beginning, and ashram is joined. Say, yes, I made it for Krishna. So some sort of freedom and some sort of happiness is also there. So here we see Gandhari. This is a very important principle about Sanjay and Gandhari. Why did they serve Dhritarashtra? The Dhritarashtra is such a, according to us, there is a primitive understanding that Dhritarashtra is evil. It is not actually complete truth. Dhritarashtra is evil and he is attached, that is there, but he also had a brighter side. That is very important for us to understand. Otherwise, it would not been possible for Sanjay or Gandhari. Now we'll see that this is a very important principle I wanted to explain for today. That what is this attachments? Uh, how now we'll see that Sanjay is a very great devotee. It's a Vyasdev, is a devotee of Krishna, and in spite of that, he is getting attached to Dhritarashtra because the next verse is going to kai for Dhritarashtra, and then Gandhari also. How she can be attached to Dhritarashtra? This is a very important. There are two principles in this. So first is Sanjaya could see the brighter side of Dhritarashtra. Gandhari could see the brighter side of Dhritarashtra. Not only just is she seeing as a villain part, both are seeing the villain part and they are trying to help him to come out of it. And another thing is there is one more principle for Gandhari. Dhritarashtra is her husband, and Shastra is very much recommending whatever husband may be, you should serve him. And say another principle which Sanjay is following is he is a king, he is a lord of the state. We need to treat him and respect him and serve him faithfully. This is what the Shastra says. And but apart from this, both of them are seeing the brighter side of the Dhritarashtra. And they had faith that this person is going to change one day. He is going to become better and he will be able to work on his brighter side. So this faith is actually what will help them, what is helping them to continue to serve him. They could see that brighter side. And and that is what happened here now. Otherwise, Dhritarashtra, if he did not have that very brighter side, he could not have done what he's doing. He's leaving the home, even though he's blinded, he's going in the forest. Presently, when he's there in the kingdom, he's served by hundreds of servants. Now he's just going alone into the forest, not knowing what to expect because everything is very dangerous there. But still, he's able to do it. So, this is actually what both of them could see this brighter side of Drashtra, and he proved also, yes, I can do it. And he did, he was successful. And Gandhari, because she faithfully followed, she could see that side, faithfully followed her husband. She also attains the destination. So she also get liberated. This is the point. Now, there are another two things we have to learn. One is the moral level, moral principles, they should be followed very strictly. And then there is a concession for devotees, which will come in the next parasis. For a devotee, there is higher principles like hope is coming and surrendering to Krishna. The Brahman Patni is coming and surrendering to Krishna, giving up the moral principles. Now we'll see here, Gandhari is very strictly following. For us, who is the standard? Gopis and Gandhari also. Otherwise, why they will tell in Bhagavatam? Why this principle is given in Bhagavatam? Because to come to the level of gopis, we need to first follow some basic moral principles also, which is very much important. I will explain this point. What happens is, if I need to maintain proper material relation also. That means like whatever relation in the family, they should be taken care properly. Then only we will be able to have a proper relation with Krishna. If I am not able to even maintain temporary relationship properly, how will I be able to maintain the relation with Krishna? If I have issues with all these temporary relationships, this much also I am not able to do. When I go to Krishna, I will have issue with Krishna also. I will not be able to maintain relation with him properly. This is the principle. And how to get proper relationship in this metal world? Very simple. Only 2 points to be remembered. One is respect, second is sacrifice. If somebody is able to respect and if somebody is able to do proper sacrifices, he will be having good relation in this metal world. And when I relate to people properly in this metal world, for me to relate with Krishna will also become easy. And I'll be able to relate. And this is what we can see with Sanjaya. Sanjaya has this Dasiras. He's able to, now when a master leaves, what will happen to the servant? What should happen? He will be very happy. Now no more master, I am free. I have so much freedom. He should be happy. Master died. Chalo bhai, acha ho gaya. Now I no more now nobody to boss over me. Now I am the boss. He is not feeling like that. He is really feeling very sad that he lost his master. Why? Because he could develop that proper attachment to his master. And here we see Gandhari, she also developed that proper attachment. Proper attachment is needed for proper detachment. Otherwise, it is a problem. If we are not able to maintain proper basic relationship within our life, and we always have struggle with this, then how can we have a relation with Krishna? Krishna will say, first you settle things nicely here. At least temporary things you do nicely, then permanent things you will do nicely. And the formula is very simple. If I want to serve, then what? Then we'll not have any problem. Now, what should I sacrifice to have relation with all these people in this metal world? Everything we should sacrifice. Then we'll be able to give everything to Krishna. So now for Sanjaya, to be a servant is not very difficult. He served a master like Dhritarashtra very faithfully. This is an art. He is not seeing everything black and white. He is a good boy or a bad person. No. He is able to see the brighter side. Even though he is able to see the negative side, he is not just remaining sentimental. No, 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 no. Nothing bad is there in the Dhritarashtra. Nothing bad. He is not just sentimental like that. He knows this bad side, but he is having an art that he could see the brighter side, and he had the faith in him, confidence in his master that one day he will come out of it. So let me faithfully serve him. And Dhritarashtra could come out of it, could become a Dhira. And he was able to serve him with that proper mood. And now, because he could serve, now for him to serve Krishna is not very difficult because he is always in that mood. Now, when Dhritarashtra left, he cried. And Gandhari also same thing. Gandhari, uh, and we'll see here, Subbalani or Gandhari, daughter of King Subbala, the wife of King Dhritarashtra, was an ideal as a wife devoted to her husband. The Vedic civilization especially prepares chaste and devout wives, of whom Gandhari is one among many mentioned in the history. Lakshmi ji Sita Devi was also a daughter of a great king, but she followed her husband Lord Ramachandra into the forest. Similarly, as a woman, Gandhari could have remained at home as or at her father's house, but as a chaste and gentle lady, she followed her husband without consideration. Instructions for the renounced of life were imparted to Dhritarashtra by Vidra, and Gandhari was also by the side of her husband. But he did not ask her to follow him because he was at that time fully determined, like a great warrior who faces all kinds of danger in the battlefield. He was no longer attracted to so-called wife or relatives, and he decided to start alone. But as a chaste lady, Gandhari decided to follow her husband until the last moment. Maharaj just accepted order of Vanaprasthan. At this stage, a wife is allowed to remain as a voluntary servitor. But in the sannyas stage, one no wife can stay with her former husband. A sannyasi is considered to be a dead man civilly and without, and therefore the wife becomes a civil widow without connection with her former husband. Maharaj Dhritarashtra did not deny his faithful wife and she followed her husband at her own risk. And the sannyas accept a rod of as a sign of the renounced rod of life. There are two types of sannyas. Those who follow the Mayavadi philosophy headed by Sripad Shankaracharya accept only one rod, Ekadanda, but those who follow the Vaishnava philosophy accept three combined rods, Tridanda. The Mayavadi sannyasis are Ekadanda Swamis, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are known as Tridandi Swamis, are more distinctly Tridandi Goswamis in order to be distinguished from Mayavadi philosophies. Ekadandi sannyasis are mostly from Himalayas, but the Vaishnava sannyasis are found of Vrindavan and Puri. Mostly fond of Himalayas. They want to go. The Vaishnava sannyasis are Narottamas, whereas Mayavadi sannyasis are Dhiras. Maharashtra was advised to follow Dhiras because at this stage it was difficult for him to become a Narottama because he committed Vaishnava brothers. That's why he cannot become a Vaishnava. But this is the point. I will explain the point again. The how the system works is the system works with the principle of respect. If a person is right, understanding how he can respect his family members properly, the question is when he's serving a bad master, then will not servant also get implicated in sinful reaction? This question may be. Uh, this is not. He is not supporting his sinful activities. He is advising that this is sinful, and he will not get. If he's not, if he's like Vidra was also there, but Vidra advised Dhritarashtra, don't do it. And now he's advising this is right thing, you do it. He's not supporting the master's sinful activity. He's frankly telling him that this is wrong. Then he will not get any sinful reaction. And Vidura or Sanjaya or Gandhari, they are able to see the brighter side of Dhritarashtra also. They know that he's not just some scoundrel. He's a great personality. He's born in such a great lineage. So that is the point. It is not just because he is some doing sin. No, they could see the brighter side also. First thing. Second is the principle of respect is what is the Vedic culture. If we are not able to respect, then we will not be able to respect the Supreme Lord also. Like what we do, like Madhvacharya, when he wanted to find a guru, he started respecting everyone. He even was bowing down to everyone, and he was one day he was caught bowing down to a snake. Because, Are, why are you bowing down to a snake? Then he said, if I don't respect, then how will I get my guru? If I have envy in my heart, then I will not be able to perfectly get, even though my guru will come, I will not be able to recognize my guru. I should be free from envy to recognize my guru who is. If we are free from envy, then we will be able to learn everything from, then we'll have 24 gurus, we can learn from many, many things, everything we teach. The point is what? The principle of respect is what is very important. And this is what is seen in the Vedic culture. When the story of Markandeya Rishi also says the same thing. Markandeya Rishi, his father, when he performed tapasya for Lord Shiva, want to have a child. Lord Shiva says, no, according to your karma, you don't deserve a child this life, future life. But still, okay, you served me. I'll give it two options. You'll have a son who will live very short life, 16 years, but have very good qualities, or you'll have a son, bad qualities, he will live very long. Then he decided, okay, let me have very good child, but short life. Markandeya Rishi was born, very, very good qualities. And then whenever the parents used to see, they used to become very unhappy and they used to cry. And when he became little big, they asked parents, why are you crying all the time? And they see him. He says, my dear son, you have very short life. You are going to die as soon as you become 60. Then his father says, but there is an option. This is how, this is Markandeya Rishi himself tells to Pandavas, and Krishna was also there that time. Krishna comes to meet Pandavas in the forest. That time Markandeya Rishi also comes. He looks very young, always 25, Markandeya. So All of many of you may be aspiring. Okay, very good option. And but how did Markandeya Rishi get this? So he tells this story. Then his father says, "My dear son, you respect everyone." And he started respecting, bowing down. One day, Saptarishis come and Markandeya Rishi offers obeisances to all of them, frustrated obeisances. All of them bless Ayushman Bhava. This is actually the blessing in the Vedic culture. Anybody, all the elders, they bless Ayushman Bhava. And then he gets up and they look at his face and he has only 1 week to live. And they thought, Arey, how can we bless him? Ayushman Bhava? He has only 1 week. But our blessing we should not go false. So they take him to Brahma. And Brahma also says, Ayushman Bhava. And they ask, Arey, that is the problem. We came here. That how can we bless him because his life is very short. Now, because he received the blessing, he said, okay, you will live longer than many great personalities of this world. Now the point is what? How did he get it? Because he received blessings. This is actually Vedic culture. When we give respect, we receive blessings. And that is the proper moral way to live. Why Varnashrama is given? Because it's a very nice way, very proper system for a person to grow by giving respect to all the properly. Like now we'll see in the next shlokas when Yudhishthir Maharaj, what he does in the morning, he performs his morning duties, and as soon as he completes his Gayatri chanting or mantra chanting, everything, he comes to pay his respects to Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. That time we will not find them. That's what will happen next few shlokas. Now for us also how Prabhupada created, as soon as we do our Mangalarti, Japa and everything, we have Guru Puja. We are worshipping our spiritual master, literal proper Aarti we are doing. This is actually our culture. We have to respect superiors and take their blessings. Otherwise it will not work. Like one time Atri Rishi want to take sannyas. No, he want to live home. He tells to his wife, I got a good idea. Chalo, let's just give up this family life and both of us will go to the forest and stay nicely. Then his wife, he says, okay, that I agree, I'll come. But first you settle your children. Give them some property, give them some wealth, then I'll come. Otherwise I will not, because I want them to be properly settled. Then say, but I don't have. Then she says, go to the king and no king will give it to you. Atreya says, I can go to king, but there are so many enemies of mine there. They are envious of me. They will not let anything. If I do, they will not let me anything. And because of which I will not be able to make it. She says, no way. Because every endeavor will have difficulties. So this is an endeavor you make. Even though there will be difficulties, you should not stop that endeavor. So Atreya Rishi goes there. And then king was performing a big sacrifice. He goes and tells, oh, my dear king, you are actually the maintainer of all the citizens. You are such a great personality. You are generous. And because of you, everything is happening here and all. He starts glorifying. Then the other Brahmanas who are nearby the king, who don't like him, immediately they object. He said, this glorification should be done to the Supreme Lord. And you are just to flatter this king, you are trying to make such words and you are trying to glorify the king in this way. It is completely nonsense. And then there is an argument. And they quote Shastra, Trimani quote Shastra, they are quoting Shastras. And the king says, what is this? This is supposed to be sacrifice and you are fighting here. And then they said, okay, let us settle with some authority. And that time Sanat Kumar comes. This is okay. You settle our dispute. Who is right? And Atri Rishi is saying these things to the king. And then Sanat Kumar says, yes, out of both, Atri Rishi is right because the king, without respecting in that way, without respecting, you can never realize Supreme Lord. So respecting the king in that way is actually very important. So in that way, the principles of Vedic culture morality was very high. The respect is there. Otherwise, we'll not be able to achieve higher. Like now we see how much disrespect is there in the society at all levels, from the childhood only. Even parents teach these things. If your teacher says something, now you come and tell me. And then if teachers chastise the children, and the child goes and tells the parents, and parents goes to the school, and again they will have parent teacher meeting. Then Parents will fight. How can you say this to my child and all? Now, what are you teaching? You are teaching disrespect. And the children make comments on the teacher. They make big things. Of course, I was also same when we are in the school. We made comments on teacher, and but now I'm understanding it's wrong. We lived a very wrong life. But now at least we should know, no, that is not the way. Anything we are getting from anybody, we should be grateful to them. Even though they are paid to teach, but still the gratitude is personally important for all of us. And this is what is a very important lesson. Like one time, one boy comes to Jesus and says, my dear Lord, tell me what is the path I can understand the truth. Jesus says, go and serve your parents. And very nicely you serve. And then he gets tears in his eyes. He says, I'm already doing it. Tell me, what should I do? Then he says, okay, leave everything behind, distribute to the poor, without looking back, follow me. Then again Christ says, this I cannot do. This is actually the difficulties. Now, when we, that's why it is told for that level of people, what happens is when we start respecting, then we learn, when respecting and relating to people, then we'll be able to relate to the Supreme Lord also properly. That is actually what is the teaching. Of course, there are some more things for devotees. We have some exceptions, but this level of exception we should not do. That is a point I was telling. That temporary relations also we are not able to do properly. How can you have permanent relationship properly? Here, wife and husband, they are fighting like cats and dogs. And how can they expect that when they go to spiritual, Krishna will not have problem? No, there also will have problem. Krishna says, no, first you settle here. First you settle all your relationship properly. What is the tendency here? People, they think, okay, I have loan with 10 people. This fellow 1 lakh, this fellow 2 lakh, this fellow 50,000, like this, I have 10 loans and I'm paying interest to all the people. And what they think that now I got Krishna. Like what these people do, they go to a big bank and take a big loan. And then they'll settle all these people and they'll think now I have only one loan with this bank. I have settled loan with all the people. So I am okay now. Same thing they think with Krishna also. I have so many obligations and all these things with all these relations, this with all these people. Now I'll take everything. I'll take it from Krishna. I'll have only loan with Krishna and all these people forget about it. I'll not have any loan. I have only loan with Krishna. Krishna says, no, no. First you settle loans and come to me. I am not going to give any loan. No loan from Krishna. That means we need to have proper relation, proper things. Very simple. Proper relation is what? Respect and sacrifice. If you don't want to enjoy, you want to serve, we can serve whatever their requirement, little bit we can serve our family members nicely. Knowing that I need to serve ultimately Krishna, we can do some service. And also seeing that how they are connected to Krishna, Krishna has sent all these things, so they will be able to do it properly. Hope you understood this point. Anybody want to ask anything, clarify in this matter? Okay. Proper relation with family members is important for God relation. Proper relation means you should respect, you should sacrifice. Maharaj Yudhishthir, so now comes, who anyway was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire sacrifice to the sun god, and offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, and gold to the Brahmanas. He then entered the palace to pay respects to the elders. However, he could not find his uncle or aunt, the daughter of King Subala. So this is actually what Yudhishthira is doing. He is giving his respects. And then Krishna also gives test according to their level. And Yudhishthira did so. He was very careful that he will not hurt Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. In spite of so much, he lost them. They left without even informing him. And that means, can you imagine how much painful for Yudhishthira Maharaj? Alright, he was so careful, he was so sensitive not to hurt. And then at the end of the day, you'll see that they are not there only. So it's like a failure. Right, I tried my best, and that is what is going to affect Yudhishthira Maharaj. And the test will be like, no, if we are in 10th class, and if we are going, if you ask the question, what is 2 into 2? It's like very silly. Arey, why you are asking 2 into 2 for me? I am in 10th class. Similarly, for us, the test will come according to our level. And if you don't pass, also Krishna will not have problem. And if you pass, Krishna becomes very happy. But when test comes, we should tell, my dear Krishna, I cannot handle this. You have to help me. And you need to have exam of 10th class syllabus. You cannot have third, fourth class mathematics in your exam paper. It will not be any, there will not be any excitement, no pleasure in that. Similarly, here Yudhishthir got a big test. And then what will happen? Narada comes and helps him to come out of it. Because a devotee is always needs another devotee, greater devotee to help him get rescued from it. So now Yudhishthir Maharaj faced some crisis. Maharaj Yudhishthir, the most pious king, because he personally practiced daily the pious duties for the householders. The householders are required to rise early in the morning, and after bathing, they should offer respects to the deities at home by prayers, by offering fuel in fire sacrifice, by giving the Brahmanas in charity land, cows, grains, gold, etc. And at last, offering the elderly members due respect and obeisance. See, this is very, very important. They should not send them to old age home, and they should give them proper respect. This is the duty. Now we'll say, Prabhuji, I am devotee, all this free. No, this is the way to come to proper understanding and properly relate to Krishna. We should also, for us, we not have fire sacrifice. But what we, these are very things. See, we should offer respect to the deities at home and offer prayers. We don't have fire sacrifice, but we have Sankirtan Yajna. We are chanting Yajna. We have to regularly call Vaishnavas to home and feed them. You call some devotee families to home, do kirtan together, feed them nice prasad scent. This type of activity should be regularly done by grahasthas, so that their attachment, why these things are told? Because always this envy is there. Because we always feel this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, I need to protect. But when we call others and we start sharing our things to them, so the envy slowly, slowly will reduce. It pains initially. Array, I had to spend 1,000 rupees when I call them for lunch. But slowly, slowly that pain will go away. No, no, I'm meant to serve. So I'm earning to serve only. Why we are making money? Why we are making all this property? Not to just accumulate. We are making all this money, working hard to get money and all. We want to have big house for what? Big house to, so that we can bring more number of devotees and serve them. Why we want big job, big salaries? So that we can do more service to the Lord, more service to Vaishnavas, more service to the society. That's why this is the purpose. People only remember their big job, big house, big car, but they're not knowing what is the purpose for all these big, big things. Just to serve Vaishnavas. So that what? So that we get out of this one day. We want big house, big money. We'll serve all the Vaishnavas and get out of this big house, big money, and go to Krishna one day. So that is the purpose behind all these things. If you don't regularly call Vaishnavas to home and feed, it becomes very difficult to give it up. Feed Vaishnavas, you'll feel so satisfaction that the pleasure in this money and house and property will automatically leave without even knowing. Only we give up all these things. We will not get any more pleasure in that. And offering respects to elders. This is the most important one. One who is not prepared to practice injunction prescribed in the Shastras cannot be good man simply by book knowledge. I know. So we need to properly follow these injunctions. We may say, Prabhuji, Varnashram is not for us. But these principles are very, very favorable for Krishna consciousness. That's why we have to do it. Even though it is not no need of Varnashrama, but many of the Varnashrama principles are very favorable for Krishna consciousness. That's why we need to practice. Modern householders are practiced to different modes of life, namely to rise late and then take bed tea without any sort of cleanliness and without any purificatory practices as mentioned above. The household children are taken to practice what the parents practice, and therefore the whole generation glides towards hell. Nothing good can be expected from them unless they associate with sadhus. Like Dhritarashtra, the materialistic people may take lessons from a sadhu like Vidra and thus be cleansed of the effects of modern life. This is another important point, that when a person is following the principles, like they want their children to follow them. They say, why my son is not listening to me? Why my daughter is not listening to me? Because they are seeing you. What they are seeing, that you are doing whatever you want, they think we should also do whatever we want. But if they see that you are following a saintly person, you have a guru, you have somebody to follow, and you call that your spiritual master guru to home, you serve him, feed him, and then follow the you nicely take care of him, then what will happen, they will also understand, yes, because they are seeing their parents are doing, they also understand, yeah, we should also follow somebody. So they are following somebody, they are not doing whimsically what they like, they are just doing what their guru is saying. Similarly, we should also do whatever guru is saying. We should not be whimsical. If we are whimsical, we do what we like, children will also become like that. That's what Prabhupada is telling. So modern householders, this is what happening. And the householder children also take to practices what the parents are practicing. Therefore, the whole generation glides to hell only. Maharajishtra, however, could not find in the palace his two uncles named Dhritarashtra and Vidura, along with Gandhari, the daughter of King Subala. He was anxious to see them and therefore asked Sanjaya to the private secretary of Dhritarashtra. So now here, Maharaj Yudhishthir, full of anxiety, turned to Sanjaya, who was sitting there, and said, "Oh Sanjaya, where is our uncle who is old and blind?" Then he asked Yudhishthira, "Where is my well-wisher uncle Vidura and my mother Gandhari, who is very afflicted due to all her sons' demise? My uncle Dhritarashtra was also very mortified due to the death of all his sons and grandsons. Undoubtedly, I am very ungrateful. Did he therefore take my offense very seriously, and along with his wife drown himself in Ganges?" So this is the point. Like Yudhishthir Maharaj, he is feeling this is a big test for him. Like Yudhishthir thought, oh, I am so nicely taking care of Dhritarashtra. I am so nicely taking very respectfully and giving them all facilities and everything I am taking care so that they don't feel the loss of their children. And after doing everything, and Dhritarashtra at the exam, what he got, he got a fail. He said, oh, it looks like Yudhishthir Maharaj failed in his exam because he could not do it. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari left because he don't know the reason. He thought, I did so much and I failed. So he really felt very mortified. But he didn't fail because they did not live out of anger with him. They left because they got higher realization. So that's what Narada Muni comes and tells, which pacifies Yudhishthira Maharaj. Otherwise, this is a big test for we may not understand. We say, they left good only, you know. Nowadays, some children they may feel also, okay, good parents left. Otherwise, I have so much anxiety for them because see the principle why the problem in nowadays is there is only one principle now. Principle is I want to enjoy, and whatever comes on my way for enjoyment, I have to remove that. This is what the parents are teaching to children. And when they grow old, the children will think, yeah, this is a thought what I was taught to enjoy in this material world, and whatever comes in the way of material enjoyment, just remove them. There the problem comes if we are living like that. But if you are taught that life is not meant for enjoyment, life is a responsibility, then they will not have problems. Anytime they are always responsible. They are responsible for their parent, they are responsible for their children, their wife. Otherwise, they leave their wife, they leave the parents, they leave children, and they don't care for anything. They don't take responsibility. Nowadays, this is what is taught. And parents are not responsibly taking care of children. Why? They send them to school and they think that the teacher should do that. And then after that, they send them to tuitions. Tuition teacher should do. And then they send to so many other coachings, this. They don't personally want to train them anything. They take a little bit time, but not so, because they are busy with their own entertainment, they are busy with their parties, they are busy with their making money, they are busy with their own social functions. And now mobile is also there, they are busy with their own social media and kitty parties and so many things. And hardly they have time with their own children to grow them in a proper way, sit with them, read the Shastras, play with them, and all these things. And they don't want to do it, all these things now. And then they cannot expect also good product will come. How much they have invested, that much they can expect. They didn't invest only and they lived a bogus life. And then what can they expect? Children will also be a bigger villain. That's what Prabhupada is telling. The Pandavas, especially Mara, Yudhishthira, and Arjuna, anticipated the after effects of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and therefore Arjuna declined to execute the fighting. The fighting was executed by the will of Lord and by the effects of family, uh, but the effects of family agreements, as they had thought of it before, had come to be true. Maharaj Yudhishthira was always conscious of the great plight of his uncle Dhritarashtra and aunt Gandhari. Therefore, he took all possible care of them in their old age and aggrieved condition. When therefore he could not find his uncle and aunt in the palace, naturally doubt arose and he conjectured that they might have gone drowned to the water of Ganges. He thought himself ungrateful because when the Pandavas were fatherless, Maharaj Yudhishthira had given them all royal facilities to live, and in return, he had killed all the Dhritarashtra's son in the battle of Kurukshetra. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj, because he is very good person, the way he thinks is also like that. As a pious man, Maharaj Yudhishthira took into account all his unavoidable misdeeds, and he never thought of the misdeeds of his uncle and the company. So that's why he's Ajatashatru. For whom the enemy did not warn on. Yudhishthira Maharaj never considers anybody his enemy, even though he's doing something wrong for him. And can you imagine what a heart Yudhishthira must have? Dhritarashtra suffered the effects of all his own misdeeds by the will of Lord. But Maharaj Yudhishthira was thinking only of his own unavoidable misdeeds. That is the nature of a good man and devotee of the Lord. A devotee never finds faults with others, but tries to find his own and thus rectify them as far as possible. So we'll just try to take one, two more. When my father Pandu fell down and we were all small children, these two uncles gave us protection from all kinds of calamities. They were always all our good well wishes. Alas, where have they gone from here? Sutta Goswami said, because of compassion and mental agitation, Sanjaya, not having seen his own master Dhritarashtra, was aggrieved and could not properly reply to Maharaj Yudhishthira. Sanjaya was the personal assistant of Maharaj Dhritarashtra for a very long time, and thus he had the opportunity to study the life of Dhritarashtra. And when he saw at last that Dhritarashtra had left home without his knowledge, his sorrow had no bound. This I was telling. No? Generally, master goes, the servant is very happy, independence, freedom. But here it is not like that. Sanjay had that mood to serve all the time. He has a mood to sacrifice. Now, because he had a very proper relationships, now for him to serve Krishna in Dasya Bhav is very natural. He will not have any problem. He will not have any issues with Krishna. And he is a perfect master. And Sanjay can serve. This is the point. We need to have these two things. Relation means we need to have proper relations in the world. We need to respect. We need to sacrifice. He was fully compassionate towards Dhritarashtra because in the game of the battle of Kurukshetra, King Dhritarashtra had lost everything, money and men and money. At last, the king and the queen had to leave home in utter frustration. He studied the situation in his own way because he did not know the inner vision of Dhritarashtra had been awakened by Vidura, and therefore he had left home in enthusiastic cheerfulness for a better life after departure from the dark well of home. So both Sanjay and Yudhishthir both had Both of them don't know this part of Dhritarashtra, that Dhritarashtra is awakened person now. They are thinking, array, out of frustration, out of pain, they left. No. Dhritarashtra left home in enthusiastic cheerfulness for a better life after departure from the dark will of home. So Dhritarashtra is so ecstatic when he is leaving home. Sanjay and Yudhishthira thought, oh, he is going out of sorrow because he don't know Narada comes, and unless one is convinced of a better life after renunciation of the present life, one cannot stick to the renounced out of life simply by artificial dress or staying out of home. So this is the point. So if person feels ecstatic, yes, I am getting sannyas. He is very blissful. That means this is very good sign. First, he slowly pacified his mind by intelligence and wiping away his tears and thinking of the feet of his master Dhritarashtra, he began to reply to Maharaj Yudhishthira. He says, this is a nice purport. I was filling this purport. Sanjay said, so he says, Naham Veda Vyavasitam Pitror Vah Kulanandana Gandhari Va Mahabaho Mushitosmi Mahatmabihi. He says that Sanjay says, my dear descendant of the Kuru dynasty, I have no information of the determination of your two uncles and Gandhari, O king. I have been cheated by those great souls. So this cheating is part proper. The great souls cheat others may be astonishing to know, but the fact that the great souls cheat others for a great cause. It is said that Lord Krishna also advised Yudhishthira to tell a lie before Dronacharya, and it was also for a great cause. The Lord wanted it, and therefore it was a great satisfaction of the Lord is the criterion of one who is bona fide, and the highest perfection of life is to satisfy the Lord by one's occupational duties. That is the verdict of Gita and Bhagavad. Dhritarashtra and Vidura, followed by Gandhari, did not disclose their determination to Sanjay, although he was constantly with Dhritarashtra as his personal assistant. Sanjay never thought that Dhritarashtra could perform any act without consulting him. But Dhritarashtra's going away from home was so confidential that it could not be disclosed even to Sanjay. Sanatan Goswami also cheated the keeper of the prison while going away to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Similarly, Raghunath Das Goswami also cheated his priest and left home for good to satisfy the Lord. To satisfy the Lord, anything is good, for it is in relation with the absolute truth. We also had the same opportunity to cheat the family members and leave home to engage in the service of Srimad Bhagavatam. Such cheating was necessary for a great cause, and therefore, and there is no loss for any party in such transcendental fraud. So this I wanted to just few points on this and then we end. So here, not to get confused that oh, we have to leave everything and then just nothing is going to happen. This is what is we have to cheat. No, but for that we need to. That is the highest thing. We need to get that realization, and then we can do also for Krishna. We can leave everything and say, okay, bye. No responsibility. Come to Krishna. Take. We need to have that level of realization also. And another thing is, it should not be done to escape responsibility. That is the point. People have so much responsibility how they want to escape from it. And they think when I come to Krishna, nothing is there. All the loans are cleared. That's what I was telling. People come, they think I will take one big loan from Krishna and he will settle all the small loans. Krishna is not first settling. It is not out of, not that he don't want responsibility, but he want to take responsibility for Krishna. When Prabhupada gave up his family, why he gave up? He took responsibility of so many other people. And not just 1, 2, 3, like 10 family members. He took thousands and thousands of people's responsibility. He took, and they were having a very complicated problem than his own family problem also. But Prabhupada took responsibility of it because he was taking their spiritual responsibilities. He was getting them married. He was every day he has to write so many letters, so many issues, and everything is solving and big projects. So to take a higher responsibility, it is said that you can sacrifice one person for a family, one family for a village, and one village for a country. But for the soul, you can sacrifice everything of this world. This is what is told one of the shlokas you might be knowing this from famous from Mahabharata. Now here, the reason why it is not told the determination, I told this determination to renounce is so valuable, and we may lose it also. We have to protect it. That's why it should not be disclosed in the internet and all. I got realization now living. Then people will not let you go. That is the point. And that's why it was not even told to Sanjay also. He'll stop. No. I inform you this day, don't go. So anyway, I'll give a break for all of you. Thank you all very much. Anybody has any questions, comments? Okay, we will end. Yes, Kalpana.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji pranams. Prabhu told some difference between that sannyasis, no, Tridandi and the Mayavadi sannyasis. Can you repeat again, Prabhuji? What is the difference of that Tridandi and signify? What does it mean?
Yeah, for them, they think for them Ekadandi sannyasis, they think everything is one. We just have to enter into that one. Because we are in illusion, that's why we are able to see all these different forms. Once you get enlightened, you will be free from that illusion, and then you can become one with that Brahman. Now, because this influence of Maya is actually making you forget, but ultimately it is one. That's why they have Ekadanda sannyas. But whereas for Vaishnavas, they say no, Lord is separate, material nature is separate, living entities are separate, and the small stick is also on the top. That is a devotion which connects us to the Supreme Lord. So like that, that is their understanding of Tridanda Sannyasa. With word, with body, mind, and word, they want to render service to the Lord. So they can see the difference. They want to send a personal service to the Lord. Whereas Mayavadis, they want to merge in the Brahma Jyoti. So that is the one difference. Another is understanding also. For a sannyasi, Mayavadi, they wanted to understand what is not. And Vaishnavas, they know what is it, that is Krishna. So, we cannot define something transcendental. We know it exists, but how you can define? Anything you define, like I'm using my sound. Sound is material. How can I define sound with material sound, a transcendental object? And all my senses, my eyes are material. How can I see transcendental? My ears are material. How can I hear what is transcendental? So then how can you define transcendental? So what Mayavadis, they, is impersonally, sir. What they say is, naiti, not this, not this, not this. They say absolute truth is not this. It is not this. It is not this. So in that way, they try to understand what is the truth. Because truth cannot be this. Truth cannot be matter. Truth cannot be mind. Truth cannot be elements. Truth cannot be, because they're all temporary. So that should be, there is there, but you don't know what it is. So you explain in a negative way. You say not this, not. So this is what is Mayavadi's way of understanding this world. Yeah. So there are many things for Mayavadis, but basically their understanding is impersonal. Yes, Mr. Okay, thank you all very much. Tomorrow we will meet. Hare Krishna.